everyone, and welcome to our very first review of The Mandalorian. Yes, we are, of course, reviewing all the episodes of The Mandalorian. Eight have been announced so far. I don't know what is to come next, but I can safely say for all of us, I cannot wait to see what's next. What is more, because oh my god, what a way to start this show. I absolutely love this episode. I'm joined, of course, by Chris and Nico. I'm Kees, your host for today. Um, yeah, this is going to be a long one. We might ramble, but that's because we just adore this show already, based on of this first episode. So let's get some first thoughts in. Chris, what are your thoughts on this first episode?
Dude, are okay. So I very well remember back in 2005, right after Revenge of the Sith came out, that there were rumors going around that a Star Wars Underworld show was announced, and that they were going to be, focusing on sort of the crime world of the Star Wars universe, and there'd be some cameos from like Mandalorian characters, Boba Fett, and that maybe we would get some really cool stories involving that era of the galaxy. And then I remember very well last year on the Who Cares Anime podcast, when we first started getting details about this show coming out, we were all so jacked, so excited. And now here we are. And, yep, expectation paid off, and then some. And why? Because when we get to the ending, we'll talk about the ending, because I'm just like,
We're all freaking out. Nico, you actually saw it first out of all of us. What are your thoughts? Quick thoughts.
So this is an interesting thought to start off with, but you guys know I'm not much of a guy for scores and soundtracks, but Ludwig Göransson, who people remember from Black Panther fame, he really went all out for this first episode, and that was one of the things that stuck out for me is just the sound of this show. Was really, really awesome. The scenery, like we're getting a lot of different environments throughout this episode, which, sometimes in a lot of Star Wars movies will kind of just stick to 1 to 2 to 3 planets, and they all kind of have, there's some difference in the scenery, but takes us a while to get from place to place. And from here, it was just like, okay, going here, going here, going here. We get to see a lot of the Star Wars galaxy that we don't really get to see. There were some callbacks to old things. We got to see some new stuff. I really enjoyed it. And some appearances by some actors that I wasn't expecting, but was really happy when they popped up on screen.
This is very true. Yeah. I love it for several reasons. I have a couple of things written down. I have extensive notes, and we are going to talk about this episode extensively. So yeah. First of all, I'll just say this feels like a movie. It looks like a movie. It truly is like movie quality in terms of seriously. One of the first things that I just noticed was the makeup on the aliens. It looks so good, and it's like, we're not CGing this. We're doing actual makeup. So it looks realistic and it looks great. And I'm like, wow. The sets, as you said, we are visiting several places, and they make a whole lot of sets that they actually act on, which is great to see. The costumes are completely on point. The effects, visual effects, are really good. There were I noticed a little CG on the blurs, but that's okay. Also, the introduction for our main character is a lot of visual storytelling and hardly any dialogue. He hardly says anything, and that also makes him a complete badass from the get-go. But just the fact that we have visual storytelling and hardly any exposition going on, yes, and you get it. Despite the fact that we don't get explained a lot, you just get everything about this character. And this is the first Star Wars TV show that we have that is not for kids. This is for adults. It is a gritty, dark show that is 100% for adults. Kids,
Unless your kids are into some really messed up stuff.
Yeah, quite. Because it's about a bounty hunter, of course. So it makes sense. Like he leads a dark life, and that makes sense. There are some solid fan service in there. Um, we just need to get into this. I feel like the opening scene just alone. I think we can all agree is just the best way to have an opening scene where we start in a bar on an ice planet. Apparently, a blue alien is about to be killed. The Mandalorian then steps in, makes the killer spill his drink, which he doesn't like. Um, and because of that, there's a Quarren alien who damages the Mandalorian's armor, and the Mandalorian doesn't like that. And wow, just Chris, how did that go?
Beautifully, beautifully. Like, Case, I know that you're a huge fan of the first Kingsman movie, and I got some serious Kingsman vibes from his introduction scene, especially from how, like, at first they're taunting him.
Considering that Pedro Pascal is in Kingsman 2.
Yes, exactly. And I was so impressed with the choreography. I was impressed by the fact that I could actually see everything that was happening on screen. And of course, I loved that trick with the door. We knew that was how it was going to go down, but oh my God.
Still seeing it.
It was brutal. And I'm just like, yes! Loved it.
I just realized something. We just missed out on the perfect name for this show. Manners Maketh Mandalore. Why did we not name this discussion show that?
Manners Maketh Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So guys, welcome to our Star Wars Mandalorian recap show, Manners Maketh Mandalorian.
Exactly. Okay, we figured it out. Seriously, the last couple of days we've been trying to figure out how to call this show, and we've been coming up with all kinds of names that one person comes up with it, the other shoots it down, or two shoot it down, and we didn't figure. Now we have it. Okay, go. Nico, thoughts on the opening scene?
I loved it. It really cements our main character as the badass that he's meant to be from the very beginning. Leaves no doubt about that whatsoever, because you don't want to be doubting. This is the face of the show, and you don't want to be doubting the badassiness of your main character if you're in this sort of business, in this sort of setting. And they establish it right off the bat. This is someone you don't want to mess with. And I still kind of want to know what that blue alien did that got him such a hefty bounty on his head, but I'm assuming it was probably fraud and embezzlement because he keeps mentioning he has a lot of money. I'm skipping a little bit ahead to when they're already on the ship, but I loved when every time the blue alien would try to say something, the Mandalorian would say absolutely nothing. So it's just like you're trying to have a conversation with the cop that just arrested you, and the cop is having none of it. It also reminds me a little bit of when Poe Dameron was like staring at Kylo Ren at the beginning of The Force Awakens, and he's just like, "Okay, who talks first? You
talk first. I talk first."
So a lovely callback to that, and now I'm going to go back a little bit to when they're trying to get the speeder to get to the ship. I love that Brian Posehn of At Midnight fame from Comedy Central was the driver of that second speeder. He's the last person I expected to be in anything Star Wars, but to see him,
he's such a huge geek. He is such a huge geek.
He is. He's been in a couple Conan O'Brien Comic-Con segments, I believe. And to see him being the driver of that speeder, only to get eaten just after he drops them off. I don't know. That was weirdly satisfying, and I feel like Brian Posehn would probably have read the script and been like, yeah, this is a very fitting way for my character to be introduced and then leave. So I liked it very much. So already we're off to a great start. We're already off to a great start with this show.
I knew from something because he's Bert in The Big Bang Theory. Like, I was thinking, I know you. Anywho, yeah. after the logo, the Mandalorian meets with a.
By the way,
they,
the showing of the logo to start off the show, like that in and of itself, the way they did that was really, really cool. Because it stands out so much from what we've seen from the opening crawls of the movies, Solo and Rogue One included. Like it has its own unique feel to it there.
Yeah,
that's true.
Absolutely.
I meant when they showed the Mandalorian logo. Was nice to see the Imperial spy from Star Wars. I mean, it was that kind of alien. I like that. There's some solid fan service, and this was one of those things. But yeah, then they go to a ship where there's a huge monster under the ice, who then tries to get the ship, and it's just so cool that the Mandalorian says absolutely nothing whatsoever. The blue alien is freaking out because a huge monster is about to eat them, and the Mandalorian is just very cool, like, okay, bye, then we're done. It's like, whoa, just shows that. By the way, I remember watching a certain episode with Chris here. It is arguably the worst episode of Rebels, but there's one thing in it that he loved about it, and that's the bathroom. And now we have a bathroom in Star Wars in live action.
Dude, I literally, Case, I thought of you first thing, and I'm just like, yes, Queen, we got a bathroom in Star Wars in live action, so now it counts. Oh my god. And the funny thing is, when I saw that, I actually had to use the bathroom, so I paused and I went to the bathroom, and then came back.
Oh god. Yeah. That was funny.
One thing I did notice was that you have to be outside the bathroom to both open and close the bathroom door. So like I'm pretty sure there's a switch inside the bathroom, but I just found it funny that like there's a very far away switch, like just half a doorway away from the bathroom itself.
True.
Yeah.
Anyway, the blue alien then, of course, he didn't really need to go to the bathroom. He was just trying to escape. Then he finds that there are a lot of people in Carbonite, and the same happens to him because he's just yet another bounty. The Mandalorian collects on his bounty with his, apparently his employer. And the employer...
Carl Weathers.
Apollo.
Exactly. And the employer then... first tries to pay him with Imperial credits, which he doesn't take because the Empire is no more. And then the Mandalorian wants some more bounties, but all the bounties that this guy has are not good enough, so he tells him about something else. But before we continue, what do you guys think about the bar scene where the bounty... with the bounties. Nico.
I feel like there were a lot of nerd moments here where I'm pretty sure there were some Legends callbacks here that I'm unfamiliar with, but we did get to learn. But if you're not a big Legends guy like I am, I'm saying I'm not a big Legends guy, you kind of learned a little bit more about, here's another form of currency in the Star Wars galaxy. Here's the name of this tracking device, or tracking FOP, if you were, which is a very weird name, but I'm going to go with it anyway. Fob. That's even weirder. But apparently you can get paid in calamari. What was it called?
Flar.
Flar. Is that food? Like what?
No. So
no, I would assume that's Mon Calamari.
Yeah, it's Mon Calamari money.
Yeah.
It looks like food though, but okay. So yeah, I like this scene. We're establishing that. They also established that we're past the Imperial War, but apparently Imperial credits still work in some places. But I'm guessing we're going to learn more about this in a future episode. The Mandalorian obviously doesn't want the Imperial credits because... actually, I think we learned this towards the end of the episode, but getting back on track. The Mandalorian obviously has a hard spot for the Empire. He does not like them. And so he feels... offended almost when he's offered Imperial credits, but Apollo, who I'm trying to remember the name of the character he plays.
It's like Grief.
Yeah, Grief is the first name, I believe.
Forgot his last name.
Yeah, Grief is just like, I can pay you half of this different currency, which is the Mon Calamari Flar. And he's perfectly fine with that. But yeah, I just like the world building we got here in that particular scene.
Yeah, because already we're about like 10 minutes into the episode, and we've already seen two different worlds, which we have never seen before in Star Wars, and we're already seeing more of the universe of Star Wars that we've never seen before. Chris, what are the Legends references in the scene?
Well, first off, calamari flour. I was like,
okay.
yay! And actually, something that I forgot to mention in the opening scene, Beskar steel, which is what the Mandalorians would use to build their armor. That is a real thing that goes all the way back to some of the books from the 90s, and then it got really explored more in the comics in the 2000s. And it doesn't get mentioned in Clone Wars and Rebels, which is kind of a shame, but that is essentially the armor that was used to make Mandalorian armor, and that's why it's so thick, because it's one of the toughest substances that occurs in the Star Wars galaxy. Like, funny enough, it's not used on ships because it's so expensive and so rare.
Yeah, and we only get this little piece of it. Not like a huge amount, because if you would use it on ships, you would need a big amount. So yeah, it definitely shows that it's rare in that regard.
Grief Karga is his name. Sorry, Grief Karga.
Anyway, after we get the bar scene, he goes to a place where we get the welcome droid from Return of the Jedi. That was fun to see, and like very very similar dialogue in terms of the alien language that I recognized.
Yeah.
And at the place, there are stormtroopers who look very dirty for some reason. Then a doctor steps in, and they all draw blasters. And like seriously, the line of saying, "We have U-421," I like those odds. Yes, just yes to that. That's awesome.
That's a very Star Wars line, right there.
Exactly. Never tell me the odds. But he's there to see an old man who gives him a bounty about, well, a certain asset, who is 50 years old. Interesting. And then he gives the metal. I already forgot the name. I'm sorry.
Beskar steel.
Exactly. And the Mandalorian goes for the thing. Chris, you're very excited about something in this scene.
Yeah. Because, okay, look, I don't care that he never saw a Star Wars movie before he agreed to do this show, but the simple fact is, ladies and gentlemen, we have Werner freaking Herzog, honestly, one of the best international directors of film in the last 40 years. Holy crap, this guy does not make bad films. I love his work. And the best part is, he can do it all. He can do drama, comedy, documentaries, and it's like, but he's in Star Wars, and I'm like, sorry, I had to gush. And plus, the thing is, he 100% sells his scenes.
Yes.
Oh my God. Like, Favreau.
Just one scene.
Just one scene, but still, like, he's going to stick with me for a long freaking time. And the sad thing is, we only know him as the client at the moment, but still, I don't care. He was amazing in this scene.
Well, like some people are better by having no name and just having like a non-name to be referred to.
Yeah. But in typical Star Wars fashion, he's going to get a name in about 2 years.
Probably.
Hopefully, this will be like the Yoda species where it's never named. Hopefully. Anyway.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, exactly. Then, when he gets out of the thing, he goes to a Mandalorian underground lair. On his way, he sees some Kowakian monkey lizards being roasted like porks. Which is like, what? By the way, for people who don't recognize Kowakian monkey lizards as a term, Salacious B. Crumb in Return of the Jedi. And one of them is actually alive in a cage. Now, here I do have a nitpick. The puppeteering was,
I have the same nitpick.
Same.
yeah.
But
You see,
simultaneously, I'm so satisfied with seeing that thing get fried, and I'm just like, yes.
that's very true. And it's very brief anyway, so it didn't really take me out of it. It's truly a nitpick. But then he goes to the underground layer, and there, well, he turns in the steel to make sure that he actually gets a piece of his armor. And while the metal is being turned into the shoulder part, we see some flashbacks, which is already slowly glimpsing at some backstory that this guy clearly has. And where I already thought, oh, I want to know more about this guy. Now I'm like, I need to know more about this guy. Like, I need to know what has happened to him. Nico, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, going to those flashbacks, that's like, okay, this guy had a past. He had a family, and apparently he doesn't have it anymore. Why is that? And I'm assuming it goes back to his hatred of the Empire, which was hinted at earlier. But again, we don't really have all the details yet because we only got like a tiny dream sequence glimpse. So we're probably going to get more backstory on that in future episodes, and I look forward to it. But yeah, Kowakian Monkey Lizard was a little weird looking in the final in its final execution, but again, it was brief, so you don't think about it too much. What I really liked about the part you just mentioned was the blacksmith. First off, I love the fact that it was I love the fact that it was.
That was her.
Yeah, I don't think that was her either.
Wait, I might be wrong.
Gina Carano's a different character. But she hasn't been introduced yet. But anyway, first off, I love that the blacksmith was a woman. I kind of had a hunch that, it's going to be a woman before we even hear her voice. And I love the look of that helmet. It reminds me so much of the movie 300. It reminds me so much of the Spartans, the way it's designed. It just shows that even with the Mandalorian armor, there's a lot of individuality being showcased through it. Like Sabine's paint job is one example, but there are so many other examples of how Mandalorians will customize their armor, and we're just getting a tiny glimpse of that here, and I love it. And I honestly thought that piece of steel that Werner Herzog gave the Mandalorian was currency. So if he just melted down currency so it was. Okay, so he just basically burned...
No, it wasn't, but I thought the same thing because I didn't recognize it because, well, as Chris said, it's a Legends reference. But yeah, I didn't exactly know what it was up until the point where they explain, it's part of your armor.
Yep. But yeah, so I like that he got a nice new attachment, sort of like a new badge of honor. And I'm very curious to know, because we'll talk about it towards the end, what exactly did they want? Werner Herzog and the doctor who popped in randomly and scared everyone to the point that they pulled out their guns. What did they want with this target exactly?
I think we can figure it out.
Chris?
No, I really appreciate that scene in the underground bunker where we got to see other Mandalorians. Like, just a friendly little reminder that, Mandalore kind of was basically owned by the Empire during the Galactic Civil War, and
like according to the first episode of season 4 of Rebels,
they sort of freed themselves.
They got somewhat of their freedom back because, well, for the people who haven't seen Rebels, just first of all, just watch it. But second of all, in the first episode of season 4, they actually go to free Sabine's father, and with that, they also want to make Mandalore free from the Empire, and they get rid of Tiber Saxon. Yep. The brother of Gar Saxon, and it seems at that point that, well, Mandalore is rid of the Empire, and that we have now Bo-Katan Kryze lead them. But of course, there is about 9 or 10 years between that moment and The Mandalorian, so we don't know what happened in those 9 or 10 years.
And to me, it just makes sense that the Empire did come back with a little bit more of a fist and really gave them a good old uppercut and be like, hey, guys, I know what you're trying to do here, but no, not right now. And it would even further make sense as to, the fact that the Mandalorian is so offended by the fact that he now has to work for the Imperial Remnant. He's like, I'm not even going to actually accept this currency. I'm going to melt it down and use it as part of my armor as kind of another middle finger to what's left of the people who presumably destroyed his family.
Presumably. Anyway, after we had that scene, he goes to a desert planet and he sees a type of creature, and I instantly that's a blurg from Rebels. We saw that in Rebels, and the moment that they actually mentioned that it is a blurg, I was like, yes! And that's just great. Like that was a bit of fan service that I never knew I needed until I saw it. He gets attacked by 2 blurgs. One of them, actually almost rips his arm off, and he manages to get rid of him. And then the other one who attacks him, kind of an ex machina by Nick Nolte's character. But apparently Nick Nolte's alien character, which also the puppeteering was off on his mouth because the mouth just didn't match the words for some parts. I've spoken exactly.
By the way, how ironic is it that that's his catchphrase and none of the words sort of match his mouth?
Whatever. Anyway, the reason that Nick Nolte actually saves him is because apparently a lot of bounty hunters have come to the planet for the exact same thing and they have all failed. That makes the Mandalorian actually hesitate a little bit. Still decides to go. He, however, needs to learn how to ride a blurg, which is a funny scene where he needs to learn to ride that. And seriously, I never in a million years thought that we would actually see people riding blurgs in live action. I thought that's just in Heroes Heroes in Star Wars Rebels, but no, we actually get it in live action
and Clone Wars.
And Clone Wars. Oh, of course, yes. Geez. Okay, yeah. I forgot about Clone Wars. I'm sorry. Rebels is fresher in my mind. I'm better with that. Anywho, what do we, Chris? What did you think about the scene with Nick Nolte's character and the blurgs?
Okay, so I truly do love Nick Nolte as an actor. My God, the man has given some great performances over the last 40 years. And you know what? It was really freaking weird. Like, I had to remind myself, oh, wait, this is Academy Award-winning actor Nick Nolte. Cool. Okay. Actually, funny enough, when I was watching the scene of the Mandalorian trying to tame the blurg, I got some serious vibes from The Mustang, a movie that I saw earlier this year, where a guy who's in prison basically has to, tame horses to sort of, auction them off to people who will take care of them. But outside of that, I liked the callback to Rebels and Clone Wars. I liked the fact that they brought in blurgs. I liked the fact that Nick Nolte had his quirks, but it wasn't too catchphrasey. Outside of I have spoken, but that was a fun little joke. I liked that, because good.
It was a running gag.
Exactly, it was good. It was, because like they say, good things come in threes when it comes to screenwriting. So, to me, it was just right.
Exactly. Nico?
I really enjoyed these little moments here with the blurg training and with Nick Nolte as this character. I don't know why, but I have spoken and just walking away afterwards. Like that is my favorite thing right now. After just hours after having seen this, I want to know who came up with that catchphrase and the delivery of it. Was it Favreau's idea? Was it Nolte's idea? And what is the backstory behind him just having that catchphrase? Like, did he try to teach someone a lesson a long time ago and they never followed through on it? And so now anytime he's just making a proclamation, he's like, I have spoken, and then walks away. I really enjoy it for just the thinking about where that came from.
Nico, you're going to do it as spectacular, aren't you?
Maybe.
Of course you are.
But also, I love how when the Mandalorian was struggling to get the hang of riding the blurg, Nolte says to him, "Your ancestors rode giant beasts.
Mirth beats, baby. Woo!
Yeah, they rode giant.
Is that another Legends reference?
Oh yeah, you better believe it.
They rode those. So if they rode those, you can tame this little blurg here." And then he goes full on How to Train Your Dragon with it, going for the nose. And it was just like, come on, girl. By the way, I love that little line where he said, that's a female. All the males get eaten during mating season. Like, yikes, but also hilarious. That is right out of Favreau's playbook of humor.
Yeah.
But, like, the little nostalgia things, but also the real life humor aspect things, like that made me enjoy it so much.
Indeed. Well, and then they ride the blurks to the place where they, where the acid is, and when he gets there, someone is actually someone was first, and that's the IG-11 unit that apparently is voiced by Taika Waititi. We see the IG-11 in action, which, by the way, this is the first time in canon that we actually see an IG unit. Oh, no, wait, that's not entirely true. We saw it.
Empire Strikes Back.
No. I'm talking about in action. Because we know IG-88 from Empire Strikes Back, but we only know him from standing there. Cool. Now we see him in action, and my God, it's awesome. Like, just him going apeshit against everyone, like, yes, that's amazing. However, he shoots a couple of guys down. Then the Mandalorian comes in, and they need to work together. And we just get an amazing action scene, awesome shootout, and I mean, there's a minigun. Like, yes, all the yes to this action scene. So, Chris, what are your thoughts on this action scene?
In addition to how amazing the action is, I loved how funny it was. Especially with the whole, I'm turning on self-destruction. He goes, no, don't do that.
Stop it.
Time to turn on self-destruction. He goes, no, don't do that. It's like, only Taika Waititi can pull that off. And him and Pedro really showed some solid chemistry building between them, which, okay. Despite what happens at the very end of this episode, I'm pretty convinced that that character will be coming back, and those two will have some solid chemistry moving forward. I can totally see it happening. Loved it.
Oops. Nico?
I enjoyed this very much as well. And it fits the Star Wars humor that people don't complain about. Like, I know people have complained about The Last Jedi in that the humor felt very Marvel Cinematic Universe-ish, but this type of humor felt very Star Wars-ish in that, it's like the little things of like, we're in a terrible situation here, so I'm going to lighten it up a little bit, but not so much with like the constant, okay, time to blow up. No! Don't do that. So yeah, and it's Taika Waititi's humor and it's Star Wars humor. And we heard from interviews of like Taika Waititi knew he had to maybe tone it down a little bit. He couldn't mention like a shake weight or anything like that in this series, so he had to try something different. So using the actual anatomy of IG-11 for comedy was pretty cool. And yes, the action sequence itself, my God. It felt like a perfect mixture. It felt very John Wickish in the way they mixed hand-to-hand combat with guns, and just very quick, very precise. They used tactical strategy. I loved it.
Of course, yeah. No, it was great. And by the way, if IG-11 comes back, there needs to be a line. I want this to happen. Hello, I'm IG-11. This is the Mandalorian. Want to come in our giant spaceship? Sorry. I know, but would be fun.
Which, and you know what? Actually, sorry. Before you head to the next scene, so we did mention Ludwig Göransson briefly at the beginning, but I need to give some props to that piece of music that when Guile, Nick Nolte's character in The Mandalorian, were riding on the blurgs to the location.
Yeah.
Okay. As someone who doesn't necessarily want actual electric guitars in their Star Wars score, holy crap! What a track! I'm gonna be downloading that thing and listening to it for weeks. Like, whew, Ludwig, damn son, damn.
I wouldn't be surprised if he wins an Emmy for this when the Emmys come around again next year.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever because already the score stood out, but in a good way, and I also can't wait to hear what else he has in store for us because of course he is an Academy Award winning composer. So considering that, I think he can do some good stuff. But yeah, we get to the last scene where they finally find the target, the asset, and well. 50 years old, but if it's Yoda species, then 50 years old is still a baby. And that's just... there's only one thing that I'm really scared of right now that I really hope they don't do.
They're not going to do it.
Don't give the species a name. I hope that it will always be just Yoda species, not a named species, because that's kind of been like a mystery all throughout Star Wars. They find a baby, and IG-11 thinks, "Oh, we need to kill this," but the Mandalorian doesn't, so he shoots IG. Don't know what will happen with that because, as you guys mentioned, IG might come back. I'm not sure. And then he has a cute little scene where he pokes his finger at him, and that's the episode.
Can I go first on my thoughts here?
Oh, yeah, actually, yeah. Oh.
Okay, so one thing I want to touch on here, and this is in terms of the plot. So right before the Mandalorian shoots IG-11, we hear IG-11 say that he was given orders to kill the target, whereas the Mandalorian was given instructions to bring the target in alive, but kill if necessary, and he'll get half price for it. So, like, we're getting conflicting messages from different. Well,
different. To be fair, IG, I assume, because they mentioned the guild, I assume that IG is working for the guild and the Mandalorian isn't.
Okay,
he's working for just different.
That's fair. That's fair. Another thing, that scene with the hand and the finger was ridiculously adorable. And final thought is second to final thought. This reminded me a lot of in Avengers Infinity War when Peter Dinklage is playing a dwarf, but it's a giant dwarf. Like we're getting a 50-year-old baby here. So it's just like flipping your expectations. It's become a very, very big move in Disney's non-Disney animation and non-Pixar properties, which I like. And, I mentioned earlier, what are the intentions of the people who hired the Mandalorian? From what we know about Yoda's species, and we know very little about them in terms of canon, but they are a very force-sensitive species. So I'm wondering, are they trying to weaponize a potential force-wielding baby? They have stormtroopers there. So is this part of maybe Thrawn's plot that we don't know where Thrawn is? Could he be trying to bring back the Empire? Because the war is only 5 years gone.
Funny that you say that because Heir to the Empire is set 5 years after Return of the Jedi, so it might have to do something with that. We'll see because we don't know what Thrawn is up to if he's even alive at this point in canon. Chris, are you?
Okay. Forgive me while I have a joy overload there for a moment because, okay. So, in terms of canon, there's only 2 members of Yoda's species to have ever lived. there's Yoda, and there's Yaddle. If you include Legends, then you have Master Vandar to carry from Knights of the Republic.
That's a public.
So I love that we're at least getting a little bit more of Yoda's species. But again, on my case, keep the mystery. I don't want you to name this damn thing. I don't want you. If you do have a name, give us the name of the character. I don't care. Cool. But
It's been like one thing that a lot of Star Wars fans have agreed on over the last couple of years, and they don't agree on anything. So
Exactly.
That's kind of a miracle.
yeah,
Do not give Yoda his species a name.
yeah, exactly. But okay, so this is gonna sound kind of weird, but for some reason, I always thought that Yoda's species aged kind of like humans, where they were only babies for like maybe 1, 2, 3 years, and then they just would get old and old and old. But apparently, I'm wrong. Also,
Apparently, life is pretty much like a human, but just stretched out by like
900
100
years. Yeah. But now I want to back up here for a moment. 50 years old. This baby predates the Phantom Menace. So, who wanted this baby hidden? Why did they want this baby hidden? Also, are Yoda and Yaddle the parents? I'm actually not even trying to be funny here. Like,
I mean, they're the only two other in the species that we know of that are canon. So,
Okay.
like, who else could hook up
Okay.
and make this baby?
My only thing with that is, despite the fact that Yoda is kind of not 100% in agreement with the Jedi Code, Jedi Code forbids them to have kids. And also, I do think that would slightly shrink the universe in terms of now suddenly two unrelated characters. The only relation that we have is that they're the same species. Would now be related and also would have a baby together that's in Mandalorian. That really shrinks down the universe, I feel, and I just hope that we can more like expand this to see more of the Yoda species potentially in the show. I think that could be interesting. So, yeah, like, while I have a point, I think I don't really want it.
fair enough.
Might be just me.
Fair enough.
But yeah, that was the episode. Final thoughts, Nico, or did you already say them?
I'll give a few more.
Say them.
Okay. So again, my main critique is puppeteering needed a little bit of work, but I think they probably figured out a system over time as they shot more of the season. I'm excited to see more character building, more world building. I want to see more of the Mandalorian's origin. Does he actually have a name, and will it be revealed by the end of the season? Because so far we only know him as the title of the actual show. Where was Gina Carano? I want to see her at some point soon. So hopefully, when her character is introduced next week, sooner rather than later. But I'm excited to see it when that happens. I want to know what happens with this baby, because there's only so many episodes where you can spend it carrying the baby around and trying to hide it in safe place. You got to do some fighting every now and then.
I think that's the point of the end of the episode. Like, what will happen to the baby now? Cliffhanger.
Sure. Yeah. Good point. I kind of want to see more of Nick Nolte. We're just calling him Nick Nolte. I don't remember what his character's name is. But Guile. I want to see more of Guile, just so I can hear more of "I have spoken." It's enjoyable for me.
It is.
But yeah, I think I'm talking in circles now. More world building, more character building. Fill in these plot holes for me. Give me Gina Carano and more of "I have spoken."
Chris.
As far as the best possible first episode to a show that you can do, this is it. Like, this was a solid freaking introduction. I can't wait to learn more about this character. I can't wait to learn more about what's the rest of the galaxy up to at this time. Like, and here's the thing: don't give me the characters I already know, outside of Sabine, possibly Ezra and Ahsoka and Bo-Katan. But give me more of this character. Give me more of why he hates the Empire so much. Give me more of, just the stuff that I'm digging. And honestly, I'm digging so freaking much. And, yeah, bring back IG-11. I want more of him, too, because he cracks me up.
And one more point, actually.
Yeah.
If this, and this is more so about Disney Plus than anything else, if this is the content we're going to be getting from Disney Plus, then I am really freaking excited for everything that everything is going to happen on the Marvel Cinematic Universe side next year.
That too, yeah. And also considering some other upcoming TV shows in terms of Star Wars live action, because Star Wars so far has only focused on the animated side, and while they have done that really well, I want to see more live action, and I think that Disney also realizes this is the type of stuff that a lot of people will also enjoy besides the movies. And the movies are going on a hiatus, so for the next couple of years, it'll just be Star Wars TV. And I do not mind it at all if we don't get movies, but we get this, because this is awesome. I adore it. I cannot wait to see more of this. As I already said,
I can't wait to see what Cassian's like. I can't wait to see what Obi-Wan's like. Yeah, give
exactly.
it to me.
This almost makes me excited for Obi-Wan, and that's a huge hurdle, No, seriously, I do think there's a lot of potential for all the live action type stuff that they have announced. And I think there are projects in the works that they are not ready to announce yet, but they will as soon as people see how amazing the show is. So yeah, I cannot wait to actually, this Friday already is the next episode. That's crazy. So I cannot wait for this Friday and the next Friday and the next, and just because the next 6-7 weeks we're gonna get episodes of the show, and I just know I'm gonna love him. I want to see them as soon as I possibly can. I can't wait to review them. So, guys, I think that's all we can say for now. Please let us know in the comments your thoughts on this episode. What did you love about it? Maybe you had some gripes. Maybe you actually had some issues with it that we didn't mention. Or maybe you had some things that you loved about it that we also didn't mention, because there's only so much that we can cover about it, because we still need to kind of keep it contained. So let us know in the comments below. Like the video, of course. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And we're going to plug ourselves. So, Nico, what are your plugs?
Facebook, Twitter, YouTube at Nico Suave Regoli, or just Nico Suave with 4 random meaningless numbers at the end on Discord, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn coming soon. Combat Wrestling Trivia on Facebook, Combat Wrestling Network on YouTube. The poorly made Twitter handle is at Combat Wrestling, the number 2. There's no letter G. Sometimes on TMG Entertainment, where I'm the Chokeslam Wrestling Debate Champion of the World. Of course, right here on Dedicated to Art and All Places, these two gentlemen will say in just a moment, hashtag Trivia for Thun 2. Announcement on everything coming soon, but maybe a little delayed. I'm trying to graduate. It's hard.
Very true. Chris, plug yourself.
You guys can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Stardust, Letterboxd, and Discord at Skywalker Dome. And you guys can follow this very channel on Twitter and Instagram at D2A Channel. Please like our Facebook page, join our Facebook group to keep up with the conversation. And this Friday on the Who Cares Anime podcast, I have a lot of announcements to make. A lot of stuff coming up that you guys are going to want to stay tuned for everything we've got coming in 2020. Never mind the stuff that we're going to be reviewing and talking about and whatnot, but you guys are going to want to tune in. It's going to be a fun time. And next week on the show, we have the littlest of evils, the true Geppetto and the Jew Bear, if ever there was one, Josh Tapia, a.k.a. JTE. It'll be a great time.
It's sure to be fun, and unfortunately, I will not be with the announcements this Friday, but I'm sure you will do a good job on that. You can find me at Dutch Movie Guy on Twitter. You Kees Cornelius on Facebook and Letterboxd. I actually competed recently in a Star Wars Rebels match. We've had, I've mentioned it a couple of times, but I kind of know my Rebels. Nico actually kind of knows his Rebels as well. So we competed both against Jay Burns over at Full Metal Random. Full Metal Trivia is the name of the YouTube channel. So check that out if you haven't already. I am going to appear in a Star Wars match very soon against Antonio Chavez, which will be a #1 contender match over at the Movie Trivia Face Off. That'll be a fun one. So, yeah. Anyway, until our next video, manners maketh Mandalorian.
And may the Force be with you, always.
I have spoken.